Here we are, practicing some athletic movements using a rope. So first, you want to think about your athletic posture, bringing your chest forward slightly by hinging, just fitting into a light squat. And the first pattern we're going to cover in the overhand direction is an overhand circle. So I'm starting with my right hand, and I'm just circling on the right side of my body, but it's going to challenge me to load into that right side of my torso, my right hip. And now I'm going to create an alternating pattern by putting both hands on the rope and creating this figure eight pattern back and forth across the body. And this is just to keep the rope flowing, to keep a nice transition from one side to the other. And here I'm going to do an overhand circle with my left hand. So now I'm loading the left side of my thoracic spine, loading the left hip, getting that left wrist to move. And now we're back to the overhand figure eight, both wrists joining the party, getting involved through the shoulders, the torso, the hips, and the feet. And now we're going to start to challenge the brain. I'm going to take my right side over to the left. So my right hand is creating an overhand circle on the left side of my body, just challenging my brain to coordinate. And it's also the opposing side of the figure eight, which you'll see in a moment. So here I'm back to the figure eight with both hands. And this helps me again to transition to the opposite side. So I'm going to take my left hand over to the right side of my body to create an overhand circle. Again, the wrist is really active here, and I'm loading into that right side of the body. Now, if you notice, I've switched and have one end of the rope in each hand. And now my left hand is leading my right hand in the overhand figure eight. And this is essentially connecting both circles. And now the transition between one hand leading and the other is called the matador. And we simply join that overhand crossing motion with a circle. So I'm crossing my left hand and then circling on the right side of my body, and then crossing my right hand and circling on the left. So that's back and forth. And then I was leading with my left hand. So now I'm going to transition and start leading the overhand figure eight with my right hand. So my right hand is leading my left. I'm transitioning back and forth with that right thumb, again, letting my body follow, letting the weight shift happen in the feet. And then to bring it all back in, to put a nice cap on it, we're going to finish with the overhand matador. So again, this is crossing, that right thumb cutting over the top, left thumb coming over the top, and then just incorporating an extra circle before you switch. So cross and circle, cross and circle, cross and circle. These overhand patterns can be used for things like swimming, punching, or throwing. Next, we've got the underhand sequence, which is the same as the overhand sequence, but underhand patterns will focus on more running-based movements and a lot of tennis, forehand, backhand, swinging patterns. So the underhand circle, and now this is the underhand figure eight, back and forth with both hands. Again, really rolling the wrists. The difference here being that I'm leading with my pinky fingers rather than my thumb. And now I'm doing the underhand circle on the left side of my body. Again, learning how to load each half of the body respectively so that you're not a one-sided athlete. And now back and forth again with that underhand figure eight. I like to visualize myself slicing back and forth through some vines in the jungle. But use whatever visualizations help for you here. Hitting forehand and backhand winners. And this is your backhand side. So I've crossed my right hand over to the left, and this would be like hitting a single hand backhand. Very challenging skill in tennis, but doable. Now back and forth. Both hands working together to create that spiral through my spine, my hips, all the way down to my feet. Now I'm going to take my left hand over to the right side of my body. So by doing all these different patterns, the left crossing over to the right crossing over to the left, the rope going forward and backwards, you're really scratching all parts of your cerebellum in a very nice way, which for any athlete is very beneficial. Here's the underhand figure eight, where my left hand is leading my right hand. So now I have one end of the rope in each hand, and we're spiraling back and forth with that left hand leading the motion. And next for the transition is the matador, where I just involve an extra circle. So I'm going to cross and circle, cross and circle, cross and circle. And this is great for, visualizing uppercuts if you're a boxer, bowling, underhand motions, forehands in tennis, ping pong, any racket sports. And now I'm going to transition and lead that underhand figure eight pattern with the right hand. So again, back and forth, the right hand is leading the left, so the hands are working in opposition here, which is a nice factor again for the brain. Learning how to drive back and forth, and again, finishing this underhand sequence with another round on the matadors, learning to drive from left to right. As I mentioned, this pattern, underhand, really applies to running, but also swinging rackets and those types of activities. Next, this pattern is called the dragon roll, and it's in the lateral plane. And I wanted to show this, especially for athletics, because it applies to our ability to pivot or change direction. And it can also apply to golf swings as well. I've seen some coaches apply it there. It's also a base layer for where we're going to go for the throwing drill. So the dragon roll is really just circling the rope in front of our body and then behind our body, and the hands change the position of the rope. So we learn to move the hands and we learn to drive across this midline. And then you can see how the pivot starts to show up here by following the rope. You can really work on simple footwork, simple pivot drills, whether it's back and forth or creating a full 360 motion. So again, the dragon roll, you'll see the rope when I pivot changes direction, whether I go from left to right, or if I were turning to face the other way, it would be right to left. Finally, the throwing drill, you're going to wrap the rope around your hand. And now, just like the dragon roll, this is happening in the lateral plane, so it would be like pitching from a set position. And I'm going to circle the rope in front of the body, and then one loading phase by taking the rope back behind my head, and then I throw, and you can finish and hold that end position to see where you land. So I'm rolling the rope now on the opposite side of my body. Once you learn the sequence, you can start to put it together and really find a nice tempo so that you can get in quite a few reps in just a few minutes. And you don't have to worry about accuracy right now. It's really the smoothness in that energy flow that is going to be used to hurl the ball as far or as fast as you want to. Now I'm going to do the same thing on my non-dominant side, which for me just appeases my brain. So I may not use this in sporting endeavors, but I'm going to learn how to throw on my left side just so I know how to do it. So again, same pattern. I'm circling the rope in front of my body a few times to get a rhythm. I reach the rope back, letting it drop all the way behind me, which is that load phase. And then I finish by throwing across my midline, circling the rope on the opposite side of my body. It takes a few reps to get the rhythm, but again, as I mentioned, once you learn it, you can get in hundreds of repetitions in just a few minutes. So learn those rope patterns to improve your athletic ability.